Good morning, students. This is Srikon, Assistant Professor, Dr. Ambedkar Global Law Institute, Tirupati, signing in for Contracts 1. Yes, students, till we are learning that in a contract, how many parties are there? Minimum 2 or more parties should be there. One party makes an offer and he is called offerer. The other party accepts the offer and he is called acceptor. So, both offer and acceptance are very essential for the formation of a contract. Both are very much essential. Offer should be there, acceptance should be there. Both are very essential for the formation of a contract. Now, this offer is also called a proposal. So once this proposal or offer becomes promise when it is accepted. So in a contract, there are minimum 2 or more parties out there. One party makes an offer and he is called offerer. The other party accepts the offer and he is called acceptor. So offer and acceptance are the two constituents of a contract. In fact, they are very essential for the formation of a contract. Proposal or offer becomes a promise when it is accepted. Now let us see the meaning and definition of the offer. So, as I said already, offer is also called a proposal. In fact, the entire contract starts with offer or proposal. It is the first step in formation of a contract, and any contract emerges from the offer or proposal. Even this offer is also called as a starting point for formation of any contract. So, in any contract, the person who makes the offer is called as offerer. For example, A is there. A wants to sell his house to B. In other words, A offers to sell his house to B. Here, A is offerer and B is offeree or acceptor. Offeree is called acceptor when after acceptance of the offer. That means the entire contract starts with the offer or proposal, and it is the first step in the formation of a contract. Any contract starts from the proposal. It is the starting point for formation of any contract. The person who makes the offer is called as offerer. Once again, the person who makes the offer is called as offerer. The person to whom the offer is made is called as offeree. So now, in a contract, you are very clear that minimum two parties should be there. Who are they? Offerer and offeree. Why? An offerer cannot make an offer to himself and make himself an offerer as well as offeree. That means you cannot make an offer to yourselves. So you have to make an offer to some other person. That means in an offer, two parties should be there, offer as well as proposal. In fact, the person who makes the offer is called as offerer. The person to whom the offer is made is called as offeree. Once the offer is accepted, it becomes a promise. Then only a valid agreement can be entered into. So the offerer and offeree should be two different persons. One person cannot be the same as well as offerer as well as offeree. So in a contract, two persons should be there. Offer is also called as proposal It is the first step in the formation of a contract. And remember, any contract emerges from the proposal. In fact, offer is a starting point for formation of any contract. Let us take an example. A is there. He intends to sell his goods to B for rupees 100. A is there. He wants to sell his goods to B for rupees 100, and he initiates the offer by making a proposal to B. A is telling to B, I want to sell my goods to you. Whether you are accepting the same, that means A is making the offer. He is taking the first step for formation of a contract. So here A is making the offer. He is called as a proposer or promiser or offerer. So A is proposing to B to sell his goods. So he is a proposer. A is promising to sell his goods to B. He is a promisor. A is offering to sell his goods to B. A is a offerer. So now once A makes an offer, the wheels of the contract will be set in motion. So now the contract has been emerging. How? A is making the offer. I am going to sell my house to you. Now what happens? B accepts the A's offer. So B accepts the A's offer. Now he is called as offeree. Right? A is offerer, B is offeree. A is a promisor, B is called as promisee. Understand? Now, the offer is the first step in the formation of a contract. You see, A is called as a proposer, promisor, or offerer. B is called promisee or offeree. Right, again, now we are going to analyze the definition of the promise. That means here A is promising. Let us analyze the definition of the word promise. Section 2 class B defines promise as. Section 2 class B defines promise as when the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto. The proposal is said to be accepted. A proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. Now, section 2, class B defines promise. Now, we will analyze the definition. When the person to whom the proposal is made, when the person to whom the proposal is made, here A is making a proposal to B. B. Now signifies his assent thereto. Who is giving his assent? B. So B signifies his assent thereto. B signifies his acceptance thereto. Then what happens? The proposal made by the A is said to be accepted. Accepted by whom? B. A proposal, when accepted, what happens? It becomes a promise. Right? When the person to whom the proposal is made, that is B, signifies his assent thereto, B is accepting, the proposal made by the A is said to be accepted. A proposal, when accepted, it becomes a promise. Right? This is what section 2 class B defines promise. Then we will analyze who is a promisor and who is a promisee. Offerer, offeree. Promisor, promisee. Now, section 2 clause C defines promisor and promisee. The person making the proposal is called the promisor. In the above example, who is making the proposal? A is making the proposal. So he is making the promise. So he is called as promisor. And the person accepting the proposal is called the promisee. Who is accepting that proposal? Who is accepting the A's proposal? B. So B is called as promisee. So section 2 class C defines promisor and promisee as the person making the proposal is called the promisor and the person accepting the proposal is called promisee. So now you know that in a contract there are two or more parties. One party makes an offer and he is called as offerer, promisor, right, or proposer. The other party accepts the offer and he is called acceptor, promisee, or offeree. These are synonyms. So now you are making the offer, A is making the offer, and B is accepting the offer. Now, once the offer has been given and that offer has been accepted by the other party, it becomes a promise. Once promise is accepted, it becomes an agreement. Subsequently, if it satisfies all the essential conditions enshrined under Section 10 of the Indian Contract Act, it becomes a contract. Once it becomes a contract, it is enforceable in the courts of law. Right? Now, you know that what is the meaning of the term offer. So, offer, once again, offer, it is also called as proposal. It is the first step in the formation of a contract, and any contract emerges from the proposal. The person who makes the offer is called as offerer, proposer, promisor. The person to whom the offer is called as offeree, promisee, or acceptor. Right. Now, you cannot say that every offer has to be accepted. Remember, anybody can give you any offer, but does not mean that it has to be accepted. Why? An offer to be valid and enforceable, there are certain conditions to be satisfied. We will see what are those conditions. So, every offer cannot be accepted and acted upon. A is giving one offer. I will sell you AK-47 rifles to you. Now, B has accepted that offer. Now, can it become a contract? No, it is unenforceable. Why? The contract entered into between A and B for the sale and supply of AK-47 rifles is illegal. Illegal contracts are unenforceable. Not only unenforceable, even they are crime under Indian Penal Code. So, there are certain conditions to be satisfied for a valid offer. An offer to be valid and enforceable, certain conditions ought to be satisfied. Let us see what are they. First condition, offer may be express or implied. Number 2, it must create legal relations. Number 3, terms must be certain or clear. Number 4, it may be specific or public. Number 5, offer an invitation to offer. It must be communicated to the offeree. These are the essential conditions for a valid offer. Unless and until these conditions are satisfied, An offer is not a valid offer and hence it is unenforceable. Let us see one by one. So, in the previous slide, we have seen different conditions. First one is offer may be express or implied. We will see what it is. Express contracts or implied contracts or express contracts means A and B will A and B will prepare an agreement and they will sign it. It is known as express contracts. That means they are signing. A and B both enter into a contract by their conduct. That means without signing, they will accept each other's obligation. It is known as implied contracts. Now, an offer may be ex- offer may be express or implied. Let us see what it is. Offer may be express or implied. If the offer is made by votes, that means they will write and it is signed by both the parties. It is called express offer. Expressing in some language. If the words are spoken, it is called oral offer. That is by their conduct. If the words are written, it is called written offer. In case if the words are used but offer is derived from the conduct of the parties, it is called implied offer. Whether it is express or implied offer, it is valid. It may be oral or written. A is there. A wants to sell his house to B, right? Then A will prepare one sale agreement. Both A will sign, B will sign. The terms of the agreement will be in the contract. This is known as express contract. Expressed in writing. Expressed in writing. Suppose A tells to B, I am going to sell my house. B says, yes, I am going to purchase my house. Both went to registrar office, then they will execute. Even without express contracts or express thing, offer may be accepted. How? By the conduct of the parties. Both acts upon each other obligation, the offer is implied. So there is no prohibition that offer has to be only in express terms. Even it may be by way of implied terms. So offer is made by words, it is called express offer, and if the words are spoken, it is called oral offer. So contract may be express contracts or implied contracts. Offer may be express or implied. It may be oral or written. Even by mouth you can speak and the other person accepts the same, then it is a valid offer. The first essential elements of a valid offer are it may be express or implied. Remember, unless and until it create legal relation, it cannot be called as a valid contract. Remember, only if the offer or contract create legal relations, then only it is enforceable. So, second one is it must create legal relation. Once if you enter into a contract, you are submitting your legal obligations to the court. That means it should be enforceable. If it has to be enforceable, it must create legal relation. An offer for social or moral conduct or act is no offer. That means in a contract, both the parties are submitting their respective legal obligations to the court. Let us take one example. A is there. A is inviting B for the lunch and failed to arrange the lunch for B. Now B cannot sue A. You have not prepared lunch for me. I am going to file a suit against you. Why? Merely calling for the lunch does not create any legal obligations. Right? Merely calling for the lunch, just I have called for you the lunch, I am due to some reasons I am unable to prepare. That does not mean that there is a legal relationship between you and me. This legal relationship has been enshrined by the Privy Council in one case, that is Balfour versus Balfour case. We have seen this case already. Let us analyze the brief facts of the case. One person was there. He is a civil servant in Ceylon, Sri Lanka. Ceylon is also known as Sri Lanka. Civil servant means collector. Now he went for England on some work. Then he said to his wife, I will give you 30 pounds every month. I will send you every month 30 pounds. Now, subsequently, this collector has failed to send 30 pounds to his wife. Now, the wife filed a suit against her husband. The suit came before Lord Atkin. Now, his lordship dismissed the above suit. You know why? It is not actionable, maintainable on the ground that it does not give rise to legal consequences. The question or issue which came before the court is that whether the said agreement between the husband and wife for monthly allowance gives rise to create any legal relationship for enforceability. An agreement to be enforceable, it must give rise to legal relationship or consequences. Social agreements, social contracts does not create legal relationship between or among the parties. That means these social agreement between the parties, it don't result in contract within the meaning of the Indian Contract Act. They are not contracts. Why? The parties, both husband and wife, do not intend that they should be attended by the legal consequences. So now you are very clear that it must create legal relationship. Unless and until it creates legal relationship, there won't be any offer or acceptance. Subsequently, no contract. This is what enshrined in Balfour versus Balfour case. Tomorrow we are going to analyze the remaining condition. Have a good day. This is Srikanth signing off today.